good evening, Julien. How is life in Paris?
Well, it's hot, and it's good and bad, I would say.
Hmm.
The story I have today, I don't know if it's a good one or if it's a bad one. I think it's a mix of both.
Okay, well, that's part of life. So you want to get on the couch and tell us your tale?
Yeah, I can do that. Let's do that. So here's a story that's a few weeks old. Um, and we've been in that lockdown period for so long. I don't know how many months, but I didn't actually take any holiday for a very long period of time.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
and then I have a newborn. And not long after my daughter arrived, we decided with my wife, what about we just take a long weekend, just 3 days? That would be our first holiday with our daughter. And over 3 days, if she's being naughty, we'll survive. It's not like it's two
Right,
weeks.
right.
And so I decided to find something that's not too far away from our home because you don't want to drive 16 hours with a newborn over a weekend, right? So I found something very nice, pretty premium, with a lot of add-ons. There would be a spa for my wife so that she could, relax a little bit while I would
Nice,
take care of
nice.
the newborn, and there would be a bunch of restaurants and just have people taking care of us
Just
for
a
a
couple of
while.
days. Nice. Okay, I'm in. I'm in.
It was pretty expensive, but that was totally worth it. And what I decided was, with a newborn, you never know what's going to happen. Plus, even though there was the end of lockdown, it could come back any day. You really don't know what's going to happen next. It was 3 weeks before the actual holiday would take place. So I thought, let's take the extra option that costs like 10% of the entire spending. So it's pretty steep, pretty expensive, but I think it's worth it. I'm going to take that insurance that basically says it's flexible. Whatever happens, I can cancel.
Especially with the baby, because that's just such a wild card.
Exactly. Now, few weeks forward, what happens? Nothing happens to the baby. We're still planning to go, but you might remember from another story I was telling you, my roof pretty much collapsed again. And I
Yeah.
had water all over. So we just said, you know what? I don't feel comfortable going on holiday with a leaky roof. That just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So we waited for the very last minute to see whether it could be fixed or not, and then we decided, hey, I actually paid for a very expensive insurance. Let's see if it works, right? So I called them because, unfortunately, that's one of this situation where I have no other choice and I hate it, but you had to call a phone number. There was no way to do it
Right,
by
right.
email, or maybe they would have been away, but considering, I didn't want to take the risk that they would say, hey, you passed the timeline for canceling. Now it's too late. So I just placed a call. Now, that's one of these terrible situations where not only I had to call, but on top, I don't even know if that still exists for you in the US, but that was a paid number where me as a
Mm.
customer, I had to pay for the communication. And I'm just, how can you still ask for your customers to pay when all they want is to get support? That should be free. Um,
Yeah, all they want to do is get the service you sold them,
e-
basically.
exactly, right? So what about if I want an upgrade? I need to pay for you to be able to sell something to me. That just doesn't make sense. So we'll get back to this later, but I had to pay for that. Now, what happened after I placed a call? I had an agent on the phone within, I don't know, 2-3 minutes top. That was pretty short. The agent was incredibly polite. I explained the situation and he was very transparent. He said, I have no idea what is this policy you were referring to. I'm not expert in this. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to send a quick message to my internal team to see what they say about it so they can send me additional information about that contract you sign. And if you don't mind holding with me another 2 or 3 minutes, instead of asking you to call back, I'm just going to figure it out for you. And I was saying, yeah, I don't mind. Please do so. But keep in mind that I'm actually the one paying for the communication. So don't keep me waiting for 15 minutes. And what I said was, no, I'm not going to do that. You're not going to have any music to listen to. I'm going to stay on the line with you,
Oh, nice.
um, and give you the feedback as I'm actually chatting on my computer with my team. And then, so he was chatting with, I don't know, legal department, customer service. I have no idea who he was talking with, but basically after 30 seconds, he was like, okay, now I realize what plan you have, and actually good news. The plan you have really covers everything. So you're going to get 100% refund, including all the side activities you had, including that specific insurance. Actually, I didn't think I would get that money back, but even the insurance itself was refunded. So I get
No.
100% back. They said, the guy told me you would get the money on your account within 6 to 8 weeks. And then he said, that's pretty much what I have to tell you. But the truth is, probably 3 days from now, it's already going to be on your account. But just for the sake of safety, I'm going to tell you it's
Right,
going to take up
because
to 8 weeks.
something could happen. Right.
And just for you to be fully satisfied, I'm going to double check and make sure that I personally cancel with that person all the different side activities that you have to make sure you really get the full refund. You're satisfied? I'm satisfied. All right. So if you don't mind, stay on the line for just 30 more seconds. There's going to be a survey. Answer the survey by giving the honest feedback. I'm not going to ask you to give a specific grade, but just be honest, please. That helps us improve the service. I said okay. He hangs up. I got the survey. Single question from 1 to 5. How satisfied are you? Well, guess what? It's a 5. No more question. I hang up. End of the story. So it's a good story and it's a bad story. Bad because I was really looking forward to that holiday and it actually never happened.
Right.
Bad story because I had to pay for the communication, even though ultimately that was less than 10 minutes. So probably 2 or 3 euros, maybe not even. I don't even know how much, but that's really nothing. But that's very upsetting that they ask me to pay when I'm getting support from their company. And very good because it was more smooth than I could ever imagine. So I don't know. What do I do with that? What do I do with that? Help me out.
It's a good question. It feels very positive to me, honestly. If it blows me away that they gave you the money for the insurance back. I've never heard of that. So now your whatever your overall investment was, it cost you the €3 to make the phone call.
Exactly.
Okay, that's in the grand scheme of things. I wouldn't worry about that. I love that he was able to reach out. I assume he's using chat or some sort of capability to get to the other people in the company. The moving the contact center off their little silo, their little island, and being able to get help like that. And what a great example of the difference that can make for a customer that they're able to do it. I also love that he stayed on the phone with you while you did that.
That was huge. That was huge because very often you just wonder, what is a guy? Did he actually just go to the bathroom and put me on hold because he could not wait any longer? Or you might be wondering, did he just forget about me? He put me on hold and he went on talking to another customer, or he went home and I'm going to wait here for an hour. It actually felt so good that he kept me on the line. Made me feel good for two reasons. First, because you don't like to just listen to music, and also because, especially when you're paying, you don't like to not know how long it's going to take. And I think you're right. It was probably a chat feature, a messaging feature. They were probably using something like Ring Central internally to try to talk to their other teams. And I think this is fantastic because if he had to place a call, even internally, he would have had no other choice but to put me on hold.
Right.
And that's employee experience plus customer experience algorithm. It's actually beautiful when it actually comes together and you get the internal communication tools working with the external communication tools. The whole experience was much better than it could have been. And I'm definitely signing up with them again next time because I know that I can count on them to cancel if I have to. Hopefully next time I won't have to. But that was very positive.
I've done travel insurance things, and I guess it was probably a different sort of insurance, but I had an instance with my brother where he and his wife were coming out and someone got really sick and they couldn't come, and we had to get a document from the doctor, and it just, it was, if I were charging my hourly consulting rate, I'm not sure I didn't lose money in the deal by the time I got it all together. So just the hassle free. It's one of the few times I've heard an insurance thing like that where it's like, oh, I wish I had that insurance. So Sounds very positive to me, honestly.
Yeah, it was, and I think, I mean, so you did answer my question earlier, but is it still a thing in the US? Companies that charge the phone call
So,
for support, I mean?
yeah, actually, I see more of it now that it's a local number, and usually it's a local number and not an 800 number. But in the US, if I'm calling from a cell phone, I'm not paying for outbound calls. I only do it on a landline. And the percent of people who call from a landline anymore is so small
Yeah.
that I actually had my son came to visit a couple of years ago who lives in New York. And I don't remember. Actually, this was a number of years ago now I think about it. And for some reason, he used the landline to call his girlfriend in New York over and over and over. And I got like a couple of $100 phone bill because we had no idea that we were going to be billed for that. Because she could have called him. It would have mattered. You know, there were 10 things they could have done, but he just didn't even know. So, yeah, in the US, you can do that. It tends to be you'll get a local number, but you could, you could end up getting a long distance number. But the number of people who would then call that from a landline is so slim.
Yeah, because to me, well, here that was definitely different. There was anyone who would call would have to pay the price, which is not that high. But ultimately, I'm just thinking, how much money are you going to make of that? How is that going to justify the frustration you potentially build before you even get the customer on the phone? Because the rest of the experience was so smooth, so beautifully done.
Yeah.
So the agent was so empowered, so trying to make the customer happy. I'm just thinking, why are you wasting all these beautiful efforts with just a few cents you're going to make that probably don't
And,
justify any of this?
yeah. And, I mean, 800 numbers used to be table stakes for customer service, right? You'd never think twice about giving a number somebody'd have to pay to call. Yeah, I mean, in the US, I get it since most of the time people aren't paying for the calls anyway. But if they're paying, that's really kind of crummy.
And beside this, again, the beauty of having that agent not working in a silo, but really connected to the rest of the company, being able to chat with other departments and get the answer quickly. And he saved money. I mean, by getting me my answer
Oh
quickly, he
yeah,
could move on to the next call and not waste any time, make sure I'm satisfied. I will definitely come back to them next time because I know the experience is smooth, which is not always the case when you travel. So I think that was a beautiful experience. That was very well done. I can only recommend it.
hard question for you. Could you have done that as a digital interaction, or did it have to be on the phone?
No, it had to be on the phone. That's a bad thing because I would much rather do it on the phone. Now, I do know why they don't do that because it gives them, and that's a very good reason. It gives them an opportunity to try to convince me otherwise, move me to a different package. Now,
True.
we had early on in the conversation, we had the discussion, can I do anything to change your mind? Can I upgrade you to a different? So we had the discussion, and when I said, sorry, my roof is leaking, he said, okay, well, nothing I can do about it. But I wish I could have done this online. That would have been even better. But the conversation went so well that I did not even think about it, which is quite an indicator because that's the first thing I usually think about. So very good point here. Very good point. Thank you so much, Max. I guess I feel much better, but I still need some holiday anyway.
All right. Well, I hope you get it soon, and I hope it's everything you dreamed of and more.
Perfect. Then in the meantime, I talk to you next week.
Sounds good.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.